Hey, look, I'm like, hey, the mama, let go the drama. You know you ain't normal, don't you fuck with these normal. Hey, the mama, you know what I'm gonna. You want that broken back, I let you shop with the gun.
Alright, so the next trip that we are going to talk about is the March 2019 trip to Miami. So he was working at the hotel, so we got a discount, so we stayed in this five-star hotel. And when we first flew in, we called an Uber to the hotel. This time we stayed off the beach instead of on the beach, and we had to drive to the beach every day, you know, to get to South Beach, Miami. And we had went over there to the store, got some groceries for the room and stuff. And then the next morning we came out, the hotel people was into it. Like, they was having a whole argument outside about something, but they don't speak our language. And so that happened. We got ready. Brandon kept on getting mad because I was taking too long to get ready. Then we finally went to the beach. Oh, we had went to the rooftop, ate and had something to drink up there. Then by the time we went, it was the second half of spring break. So much crazy stuff had happened the weeks prior that the police presence was really heavy. So they had people like sitting on the sidewalks. Most of the time they was targeting black people, but they was arresting people. And they was like, if everybody was on the beach gathered, like having a little party, they would ride with their motorcycles through the party and try to break it up. Or they'll just be sitting there and just park their car right there. So basically you couldn't congregate on the beach. Then they started to set up different entrances. So you can't just go on the beach freely. You have to go to the set entrances. You have to go through a bag check. This is stuff that was not in place the first couple of weeks. But due to the craziness, we caught that part of it. So we had to try to hide the liquor, hide the weed when we going on the beach. And then we had to try to be discreet when we used our stuff. That was the crazy part about that trip. One $8 drink at a regular club is like $40 drinks there. So it's like $40 for one drink.
Then we had to always share Uber, like an Uber pool with like different people in there. So
right.
They wouldn't just go to our stop, they'd do different stops first.
I went on my friendcation. Too much craziness didn't happen. We didn't do no crazy stuff. We just really caught a vibe. It was just me and her really just vibing out for real. In front of one of the hotels, it was the San Juan. The San Juan, that's where they turn up at. So everybody was outside the San Juan. They was just turning up out there. So we walked down there because there wasn't nothing else going on. Because at this point, the pandemic had just hit. So, you know, tickets was cheap. So we caught us a flight out there, and a lot of stuff closed early, and they made you leave the beach at like 9. The police come down like, go home. Everybody must go home. Get off of the beach, you know, like that. So you got to go home. So everybody at their hotels at nighttime really ain't got nothing else to do. Someone turned up in front of their hotel, so we walked down there, chill in front of them. Then we meet this lady who on her like her last leg. Her girlfriend on her last leg, and she looked like she struggling too. They struggling with addiction or whatever. So they was down there talking to us about what they got going on. So basically it was a male who turned female going with a female. So they told us their whole life story and how the lady won't stay off drugs, so the doctor won't do the procedure to save her life because she won't stay off the drugs. And she homeless. So she lived in front of the Walgreens down there by the hotels in Miami. People was coming from the beach, like they had snuck on the beach. They sneak on the beach after hours. So we like, how these people come into their room wet, dripping? So evidently they'd be going to the beach after hours when the police told them not to. That was pretty much it for my friendcation that happened. And then after that I had a vacation. So after my friend went home, he came. And that was a crazy trip. We was living in this, he touched down and I met him at the hotel that we was gonna share together. We got into the hotel. So walking down the highway, you just hear somebody doing it. And it was so loud. And it was just like, and the person was just like, you know, doing all that. So I'm like, okay, this man just paid this lady. There's a lot of that going on in Miami. So that's what situation that was. Then I'm sitting at the hotel. He wasn't even there. The fire alarm go off. So I'm like, no, I know the hotel ain't caught on fire. So I leave out the hotel. The thing was so loud. I'm like, dude, I need to pack my stuff or what? Is this like a false alarm? Is this real? So I get outside. They told us it's okay. The alarm just went off, so it was a false alarm. Around this time, I had just started my vlog, so that I had did my Miami vlog. And we met these girls. They kept messing with my boo. But we got into it on vacation, so I'm chasing him down on the beach. And the folks like, go get him, girl. And I'm like, because he finna have me messed up. So then I had checked him at the hotel. And I told him that it's on me, on the hotel room now. And I had threw his stuff out. The hotel. We had a rooftop hotel, so I had threw it over the roof. Did I go back and get it before you got back?
Yeah.
I packed his shit and moved him out. He wanted to act a fool when we got a fool. So that's what happened with it. And then I tried to take the hookah to this restaurant, and they're like, oh, no, you can't smoke that out here. And I'm like, I'm outside. I can't smoke it outside of the restaurant? They're like, no. So I had to hide my hookah, put it on the ground. The next trip to Miami, I went for Aaliyah's birthday, my friend Aaliyah. So we went down there for her birthday. We flew in. We got there before they did because they drove. So we called an Uber to the hotel. The other Miami trip, my first Miami trip, I took like 3 weeks down there. I left all my wigs. I called the hotel like, hey, I'm need them wigs back. They was like, baby, we ain't got no wigs. I'm like, what y'all did with them wigs? Because I had 3 of them and I had them hanging on the lamps because I'd be flat ironing them and stuff on the folks' lamps because I didn't have no head or nothing. Because that's too much to carry in your luggage. So, yeah, I forgot I left all my wigs in Miami. 3 of them. Now, when we went down there with Aaliyah and them,
we stayed at Ocean Reef Suites. We stayed right by the beach this time. Our first time staying by the beach.
Yes, and when we first got there, we had to meet them to go on a boat ride. So we go and get on the boat. The people like, oh, y'all got a wristband? Because when the boat filled up, it was some more people. We got there later than we were supposed to. So we got on somebody else's boat.
We still ain't get a refund for that either.
And we got on.
That ain't what happened first. First we went to this other place where they had got out there in the kayaks on the water.
Oh, yeah.
And people would be like hydroplaning up in the air.
Oh, yeah, water sports. We didn't do that, though. We just watched them do it. And, oh, that's when New Winter went. New Winter, her boyfriend, I forgot his name. And, yeah. So, we were supposed to go to do a boat ride. We was late for the boat ride, so we just hopped in a boat. When that boat filled up, it was a couple of people standing outside, and they like, well, it's not adding up. We filled this boat up, so these people should be able to fit. So they like, who ain't got no wristband? So everybody ain't had no wristband, so we had to get back off the boat. And they got on since they had wristbands. And the people was like, we couldn't make up our slot or nothing, so we pretty much lost that money for being late. And we was probably late because of traffic, waiting on the Ubers and all of that. And then the Uber let us out somewhere, but we still had to walk to get to the boat place. So all that made us late. So that was about it on that trip. That was crazy. We went to a little party that night. The Uber couldn't find the spot for the party. So he just gonna let them drop us off somewhere, and we figured it out from there. Because, baby, if I was by myself, I'm not getting out of this car until you take me to my destination. Especially in a place I'm not familiar with. But then, after the Aaliyah trip, we went back to Miami again with my cousin Chantrice for KD's birthday. Zell was the one that invited us, and he didn't even come on the trip. So now we just at KD's birthday, which was cool. Jalen showed up and a couple of others. So that was fun. We all stayed at their hotel.
I thought she was there.
Oh, yeah, she didn't come either. I forgot. So when we was on the way to KD's birthday, we had to catch our flight. My bag was too heavy when I got to TSA. TSA said I had to take some items out, but they wanted me to go back to the end of the line. If you ever been catch a flight, you know the line can sometimes be out the door, especially when you fly with the cheaper flights.
Late, like always, too.
Right. So if we already running late, I'm just gonna take this stuff out, throw it away. The lady was mad. She like, no, I want you to go to the end of the line. So I didn't go to the end of the line. So she told the people, step over her bag. Because I opened the suitcase and started taking the little stuff out. I'm not going back there. So she like, step over. The people looking at her like she crazy. Like, I wish I would step over some lady in her suitcase. That's rude. So the lady sent my suitcase somewhere to Timbuktu on purpose to get back at me for me not going back to the end of the line to take a couple of items out. Anytime I do a flight, even if I got to take something out because of weight, I never had to get back in the end of the line. So she was just tripping. But anywho, it took them a long time to deliver my bag, probably like 12 hours. So they finally, I was calling, had to go through all the steps, finally got my bag. The whole time, they scared thinking that my bag got took because of weed. But really, it was this whole playing games. So that happened with that. So we were a little worried about that. So when they went to look for my bag, I had to go hide in the bathroom just in case they had confiscated my bag for weed. They wouldn't come arrest me. They was just going to say they don't know what I'm at, but they just here to get my bag. But it wasn't nothing like that. It was just a whole being stupid. So that's what happened with that. So we finally get to the hotel. We check in. We meet KD them. And that was it. We went to the beach and stuff. And then we went on to the beach. We met these basketball players on the beach that day. I'm just sitting on the stoop. They walk up to me. They start chopping it up. Because in Miami, that's what you do. You go out there to meet people. We chopping it up. They like, take some shots. They got this liquor. So I take shots. Now, bad judgment call. Whole day throw it off. We go on the beach with them. We partying it up. I'm talking about hookahs, gas, liquor. Other people on the beach coming to talk to us. We down in the water dancing and stuff. Whole time we supposed to been took the rental back. We just chopping it up out here. After the beach, you think we'll go take the rental back. Nope, we go out to eat. So we went out to eat. They asked for a ride back to their spot since we had a rental and they was Ubering. So we like, okay, we'll take y'all back to y'all spot on the way to take the rental back and go to the airport. We take them to their spot. We end up going in their spot. They give us a tour. We drink some more. We go outside and we smoke or whatever. Out there, they start saying little comments like, oh, y'all can stay with us. Y'all can just, we can all sleep in the same bed. He caught that, I didn't. Then he saw them playing with each other up under the table or something. So I've never seen it, but he did. So, you know, they was just really on that. It was a couple of studs on the team. I don't know which team because they wouldn't tell us because they couldn't. But the rest of them was like girly girls. But you could tell just how they was made that they was some kind of athletes. But anyway, we went there. The whole time we supposed to be back at this airport. We still just partying it up. So then we get in the car, get ready to go. Somebody done left the stuff in the folks' car. So I'm in the folks' house. So we got to go back in the house and get some, then come back to the car. Now we get ready to take the rental car back. We can't find the airport. He done missed the exit a couple of times. I told y'all we lit. So we just driving for like 2-3 hours. I kid you not. Just trying to take the rental car back to the airport. 2-3 hours just to go to the airport. Like, I don't know if the map was tripping or we was just tweaking on some drunk shit. But at the end of the day, we made it to the airport. Get all the way there, realize we didn't put no gas in the car. So we got to leave the airport again and go get gas. It took a long time to go get gas and come back to the airport, check the car in. We didn't know how to check the car in, did it?
We just left it there.
And it was like a certain way you had to do it.
We were supposed to go clean it out and remember we didn't.
Oh. And then we didn't know to go, so people behind us was blowing. Oh, yeah. Then we took the car, so we went on and went. We took the car back. We get to the airport. We done missed the flight. She is mad. She is livid. She like, I gotta get back home to my baby. My cousin Chantree, she like, baby, I gotta get back home to my baby. She trying to find, she up there arguing with the TSA folks trying to find any way to get back home. They wouldn't let her get back home. So we had to stay another night. So I'm like, the folks said we could just stay at their house. Let's just go back with them, stay with them. Brandon didn't want to do that, so we had to get a room. So we got the room. She wake up early in the morning and catch her Uber. She said she was not missing that flight. She was up there at the airport waiting. Me and him, we pretty much know how the airport and stuff go about how much time it's going to take. So we slept a little longer and then we went to the airport. So we made the flight the next day. But it was a mess. That trip was a mess. Then, while on that KD trip for his birthday, which Chantrice came, he got sick. His wisdom tooth was hurting when we went out. We had to go out all the way in Fort Lauderdale, first of all, because it was the pandemic and spring break. So people was really cutting up out there. So they had put all these little laws into place that every building and business had to close at a certain time because of the pandemic. So we really couldn't find nowhere to party but in Fort Lauderdale. So we drive all the way to Fort Lauderdale just for him to get sick, have to go to the ER. He in the ER with all the sick college students throwing up because they done drunk too much for spring break. All kind of sick people. They gave him some medicine for his tooth. So he missed the whole night out. We, on the other hand, everybody else, we went with our plans to the club. Because me and him got into it because I had been told him to go ahead and handle your wisdom tooth. So We get there and we go in the little club. I'm standing at the bathroom and it's a couple of lines. So I'm asking them like, are y'all here for the bathroom line? They're like, doesn't it look like we're standing in the bathroom line? Like, bitch, I will slap you. Like, why is you fucking talking to me like you crazy? So I get into it with them at the bathroom because they talking to me at the side of their neck. And so that was the first little altercation because they just finna get outside their body a little bit. You know, you don't come at somebody like that, especially not no stranger. I could be crazy. What if I just hit you in your face for saying something to me like that? And then we was outside and we had our little smoke on. So the security guard walk out there like, ain't nobody smoking out here. We got the whole blood fired up, rolled up, holding behind our back. Like, nope, no, we don't, you know, we don't know what you're talking about. We finished smoking that little blunt. We going back in the club, take pictures and, you know, hang out, drink. Then we get ready to leave. ER taking forever, so he's still at the ER. So now somebody got to stand in the cold because there's too many of us because we brought 2 cars, remember? But he got the rental at the ER. So somebody had to stand outside in the freezing cold until he got there. And since I'm a lady, they had to let me sit in the car. So he threw everybody night off, getting sick. He finally came pick me up in Chantrese, and we went back home. But the next trip I'm talking about is our Houston trip. We went all the way to Houston, Texas. The flights were so expensive, we decided to take the 10-hour drive. So we took the 10-hour drive down there. We get down there. My best friend staying down there, so we hanging out with her for New Year's. In Texas, we got this little hotel. So I was back and forth between the hotel and her place. I went to the turkey leg hood. It was so good. Like, I cannot wait to go back to Texas just so I can eat there again.
We only had planned to stay there for like one night. It was New Year's. But we ended up, she kept wanting to stay more and more nights, so we stayed out there longer.
Yeah, we ended up staying out there like 5 or 6 nights. Maybe, we probably stayed out there like a whole week. Maybe over a week. We stayed out there a long time. We just really enjoyed the city and stuff. It wasn't too much crazy stuff happened on that trip that I could think of. We just went out and stuff. So the Texas trip, it was a pretty normal, decent trip. The next trip we went on was to Orlando to the EDC. Now that trip was lit. I went for one of my birthdays and I wanted to do something different, so it was like the whole fist pumping thing. And it was like a rave. So we went to the rave, you wear your little rave gear. So that was real fun. We get out there, we find this credit card. Somebody had dropped their credit card, so shoot. Somebody dropped their credit card, you try to look around.
I can't really remember.
That first night we didn't make it because we went out to eat after we went to the outlet malls. And then we did go because we went back home and we got ready and we went.
I can't really remember what happened out there, but out at the EDC they had Ferris wheels. Y'all can look up EDC Orlando if y'all want to. They got Ferris wheels and all type of things going on out there.
We were standing in line at the Ferris wheel. Somebody snorted a whole line standing right in front of us. Them people out there, oh, they on every drug. And when we were walking around, they like pushing that stuff. They like, we got the green things, the pink things, the white things. They were talking about the drugs.
People out there stealing phones. There's like over hundreds of phones reported stolen.
Oh yeah, it was a pocket picker. So what they was, and then they caught the person who was stealing the phones, and they had recovered a lot of them. So it was crazy. You really got to be on your P's and Q's out there because there's so many people, and when you standing, it's like 10 different stages out there playing 10 different sets of music and 10 different people performing. So it's thousands of attendees. So you can go to each little party that you want to go to and go listen. You know, go fist pump over here at this performance. Then you can go walk about 30 feet away and it's a whole nother fist pumping party going on. So this party we're about to talk about next is when we went to New York. We went to New York twice. So the first time I went to New York, I was supposed to go with Brandon, and Spirit ran out of flights, so I'm never flying with them again. So we get to the airport and we try to go, and they push our flight back. So we had to spend the day in Nashville because that's where we were leaving from. And then they pushed the flight back again because it was an early morning flight. So we left Birmingham at like 2-something in the morning to make the flight. They pushed it back to midday. Then they pushed it back to the evening time. So at this point, we had to make a day trip in Nashville. So we decided to go to the zoo, which was fun. Then they canceled the flight. And I have to be at an obligation in New York the next morning, bright and early. So that just couldn't happen. So I had to go book a flight with Delta. He had to spend the night, which was so tragic, in Atlanta. So I had to go to New York by myself for the first time. And he had to go stay somewhere else because it wasn't another seat for him on the plane. And that was the only plane that was leaving the night. And I had to be there. So he stayed in Atlanta. I went to New York. I get to New York. I Uber to my place because I don't know how to use their subway system. They dropped me off on the side of the road. It was really dark and it's the middle of the night. I didn't know where I was. I had to walk a block and a half to where I was actually supposed to be staying. So I go up to my room and I order room service. I mean, not room service. I order DoorDash. They pick me up like some toothbrush, toothpaste, snacks and stuff. And when I asked them what my things were, they said they delivered them. They never delivered them, y'all. They delivered them at the same spot the Uber dropped me off at. So I had to walk a block and a half to go get my stuff and a block and a half back in the dark in the middle of the night in New York by myself. So then, fast forward to the next morning, that's when you came. Mm-hmm. So he made it the next morning. And, yeah. What else happened at first New York trip? Not too crazy. We got on a ferry and rode the ferry across the river, and we did not know how to get back home. So when we got off, we were not back at home. We thought we was going back home, but we weren't back at home. So we got lost on a ferry. And they took us somewhere, not even where we stayed. So we had to order Uber to get back to the room. Because the ferry was right across the street that we left on was right across the street from where we were. We just didn't know how to find our way back to that port. So in New York, you really got to know how to get around or you will be lost and late to everything. Okay. So fast forward to the second New Year. Oh, and when we stayed at this New Year trip, we stayed in a nice area. There were a lot of Jews with the top hats and the suits and everything. They wear them every single day. The children do too. So you know when you see them because they always wear this uniform that is identifiable. It's very dressed up in a suit. The ladies wear dresses. The little girls wear dresses with hats and everything. So the next New York trip, we took my auntie. Brandon took us and he took my auntie. And we all stayed in Manhattan this time. And that was a whole different ball game. We actually got to the airport. And we went to the hotel to park. And then we were going to ride the shuttle to the airport. Why the shuttle made us late, left us, told us they was coming back real quick and they didn't. So we got to the airport and they told us we missed our flight. So we had to find things to do in the airport until it was time to go. So we did that and we took our flight. We landed in New York. We got into the Uber. The Uber did not know where he was going. He did not speak English either. So he couldn't even talk to us and, you know, we like the address they go here on our map. He liked the address they go here on my map. And then that was as far as it went because he could only say like one word of English. So we're literally just in the car riding with this man, not knowing where he was about to take us. That was the first crazy thing. So we get to the Airbnb. The people told us the wrong lock. Like in New York, you know how they Airbnb hang a lockbox with the key in it on the door? In New York, they hang them outside on the rails, the little rails coming up into the building. So it's like 4 or 5 different locks, which means that a lot of units in there are being used for Airbnb. They told us our lock was one lock. We had to try every lock out there to find our lock because the one they said was the lock wasn't the lock. Then we get in there and we see that the building is like 14 floors. Why this building didn't have no elevator? And we were halfway up, so we was like at the 7th floor. We had to walk with our suitcases all the way up them steps. Every time we went somewhere or every time we came back home, we had to take that hike. So that was wild. Yeah. So then we decided to hit the town. So we go out, check out, see what's what. One thing about New York during the pandemic, you have to have a vaccination card. So we just walking outside, we trying to do stuff, and they like, oh, you need to be vaccinated. We got away with eating at these restaurants because they had an outside area. So that's our first little run in, and they let us know, like, hey, down here in New York, we do the vaccination cards at most places, but some places don't. You can just have a positive test in some places. And so that was the first day we went out to eat. The next day we went out at nighttime, like to a bar, drinking, dancing, just having fun. We met this local guy there, and we decided that we was gonna go home. On the way home, I saw someone run across the street. Or across the sidewalk. It was so huge. It was like this big. I'm like, y'all, I know that's not what I think it was. Like, it's walking on the sidewalk like we walking on the sidewalk. Except it's going super fast, so it's like, boom. So you're not even sure you think you saw what you saw, but you know what you saw. I'm like, y'all, I know y'all didn't see that.
I was running. I was scared.
That was like, yeah, Jameer, that's a rat. I'm like, no. So then, I'm looking out now because I done seen one. So then you just see them. They just scrambling everywhere. They just like, and then they not out in the open. They want to be like up against a wall or up against a little crease in the sidewalk or behind people's tires and stuff. So you just see them just running around. And it's a lot of trash in New York. The way they do their trash is, say you stay in an apartment building, but it looked like an actual building downtown. Not like an apartment complex down south. And you take all your trash and you just sit it on the sidewalk. So imagine walking down the sidewalk, wherever you at. But in New York, it's going to be lined with trash. Well, when the trash come out and the sun go down, the rats come out. The trash stay overnight. The trash man pick it up really early in the morning before everybody wakes. So it was so nasty. Those rats was running across the sidewalk because I guess they live at like the bottom of the buildings. They shoot out, get some trash, go back. Shoot out, get some trash, go back. So while you're walking down the sidewalk, you see rats just running back and forth. And then we were so scared, we had to walk down the middle of the street. Because we like, oh no, like, then we might get got by these rats. Man, there was so many rats out there. And then the locals so used to it, they like, they out here with us. You know what he said? They live with us or something. He was like, we live with them. I'm like, no, we don't. I don't know what you're talking about. We don't live with no rats. So, he's saying it like it's normal. It's a way of life. It's just a part of New York living. And I'm like, no, baby, I'm in the middle of the street with it. Like, because it's not too many cars in New York. Everybody uses the subway system. So we got away with walking right down the street, in the middle of the street. Just to avoid some of the rodents. Because they were still out there. But if you ain't got to walk on the sidewalk, I wouldn't recommend it. I was trying to run in my room. So, yeah. And another crazy thing, I'm in New York. You have to walk everywhere. And first of all, you have to walk to the subway. When you get to your destination, you got to walk to your destination. And in order to get back home, you got to walk to the subway. Once you get off the subway, you got to walk to your house. So it's just a lot of walking. So when you go grocery shopping, when you go shopping, you only can buy as much as you can carry in New York. A lot of people have wagons and stuff, but it's real hard when you're trying to ride the subway with the wagons and the strollers and stuff. So, yeah.
So, one night we decided to go out for a party we found on Instagram. And I normally do the directions, but this time Jameria wanted to do them very bad because she didn't trust my direction skills.
Because he got us lost.
Nah, not really. See, in New York, they have like several different subway stations, but it's several different trains that go different places, so they all in different alphabets, and you got to make sure you're on the right one at the right train station. So she puts us on one train. It takes us about 30 minutes away, which was the wrong way. Then we get on another train. It goes another way for about an hour. So we end up staying on the train for about 4 hours. And the party was about to end in like 30 minutes. So we finally found the party. It was in Brooklyn. We go in the party, which it was an okay party. They had their music very fast and upbeat. So Jameria didn't really like that, so she didn't really dance in there.
Like, imagine Future Lil Baby being sped up like 2 to 3, 4 times the actual song. Like, they add a little do to the music. But that's the way they do it out there. And it's different. It takes some getting used to if you're used to down south music. Because I'm used to Future Lil Baby type of tempo, regular. So when they make that like 2, 3 times faster, it's just a whole different sound.
So when the party was over, it was about 3 a.m. So it wasn't many people outside. We had to wait on our Uber, like in a very dark, bad area. So while we were waiting, it's a guy who runs a barbecue grill, and he was selling plates. So we was pretty hungry after the party, so we decided to get some food. So it was very dark, different people outside, you know, it's very quiet, you never know what's gonna happen. So after we get a guy the money, we see some local guys walk up to the guy, and they hold the guy up and be like, okay, now so you owe me, I just saw you make that money. And the guy was like, no, I don't have no money. And they was like, we just saw you order some food from them. And so we basically watched somebody get robbed right in front of our eyes after we paid them.
Now me, I missed the whole thing. I just went over there to try to get me some food, and he was selling it right off the grill, like off the grill on your plate. So I tore that up, and it was real good. I just hate they took the money from him. But I didn't even peep the whole time. I didn't see the whole robbery go down, because I was too busy eating and trying to find out how we was going to get home. Because after the party, we realized that everybody stayed literally like across the street or within walking distance, because New York is a walking city. So everybody get let out, everybody just dispersed. They just go on home. I'm used to everybody getting in their car, going to their destination. So now we just standing out here looking around like, okay, we need to find a way to get home. Either a subway, call an Uber or something. So we walk a little ways to find the subway. Yeah, why the whole time we standing right here, the subway was literally right behind us, and we didn't even notice it. So we had ended up waiting on an Uber and didn't see the subway till it was about time to go. But we really didn't want to ride the subway in that area anyway. So yeah.
So the next day, we decided to go get some COVID tests done so we can go in different places. So while we're trying to get our COVID test done, Jameria is about to fight with the medical assistant. Jameria was telling her that she was sticking the Q-tip up her nose too far, which it was a horrible experience getting that test done. It was bad. I went through so much. You want to tell me about that experience?
Yeah, when I tried to get that COVID test, she was like, okay, come on in and sit down just like I am now. It was a real low chair like I am now. And she began to swab. And you know, I've done tests where I do it myself up here at A&M when I go take my test at the clinic. But down there, she do it for you. And she was sticking it so far, so I'm jumping. And she like, I didn't even stick it that far. I don't understand why you're jumping. And I said, because it hurt. You did stick it that far. How you going to tell somebody you didn't stick it that far when you did stick it that far? You don't know how far my nostrils go up. Everybody don't have the same nostril size. And you don't get to have an opinion on how I feel. If it's to the point where I'm kind of jumping, that means it's too far. And it hurts. It's uncomfortable. So, yeah, she had me messed up. She better be glad we was in a proper establishment. And they little buildings be so little and scrunched in. Like, in New York, if you got a 2-bedroom, in New York, your 2-bedroom would be the size of a hotel room. The room is as big as a walk-in closet. So you're not about to have no big old queen, nothing bigger than a full-size bed. And if you got a full-size bed, it takes up the entire room. You only have a little space for a TV and a TV stand. So it's very compact living. So that was something different because I have a full space apartment.
So when you walk out of your building, you walk to the corner. It's like different people line up the streets. They like selling drugs and just hanging out on the corner, that type of environment. So they were selling drugs out of the liquor store. You would walk in the liquor store, and then that's when they'll do the exchange with you. So it's just very weird. And it's just so much shopping going on where people will leave like bags of clothes, just drop them on the ground because there's so many people with bags and different vendors on the sides of the street that they don't even realize that they dropped their belongings. So that was a quick come up.
Yeah, you can score like a whole bag of somebody's groceries, clothes, whatever it is. Because if it dropping you out there in the hustle and bustle, you can miss it. And one time now one thing about those subways, you have to know the subway system. You need to familiarize yourself with how to get around down there, because you'll be lost.
So one morning we wanted to go eat breakfast, so we went to Chinatown first to eat. Some guy approached us and invited us to his restaurant he worked at, and he put us in the back area, which was the outside area. So it was no other guests out there at first. So someone decides to start smoking. So she starts smoking, and then a little while later, the same guy brings some more guests back there. So when the guests walk back there, they like, why does it smell like weed back here? And then the guy was like, what are you talking about, weed? Then he came over to us and like, they say it smell like weed back here. What are they talking about? I don't know what they talking about.
Right, we all like, shoot, we don't know. My guess is good as yours, shoot. And so, yeah, we ran the folks' customers off. But I felt like it was outside, so it was free game, but I guess not. And so, yeah. And then, one time we was on the subway, these people almost got to fighting. I don't even know what it was about, but they were standing directly behind us. I think the dude didn't let the one scoot over for the other dude or something. But in the subway, you got to be ready 10 toes down, period, because you never know what can happen. Somebody could just be having a bad day, or somebody could just do something you don't like, and bam, you having a whole altercation in the public subway and everybody watching. So yeah, it get real in the field on those subways, so be ready.
Another time we were down in Times Square, and there was two guys about to bump. They was taking off their shirts and just going at it. Have no idea why, but...
Oh yeah, they definitely was. So one thing you gotta worry about, when you in a place that's so highly concentrated with people, altercations are going to happen. You could be in that altercation, so just stay on your P's and Q's.
Down in Times Square, you got people dressed as superheroes like Superman and Batman and all type of Mickey Mouse characters that they do that to approach you and take pictures, and they charge you if you want to take pictures with them. And you have different guys that'll put on dance shows for the whole crowd. They'll get everyone gathered around, and they'll put on a dance routine, and they might actually invite you in as a volunteer if you want to be. They have women out there walking around with nothing but body paint on and different little things like that.
Yeah, they had the strippers down there, and they just to take picture with. So they paint themselves like America, and they walk around naked and get pictures just like the characters. You got Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. That was pretty cool. What else was crazy down there? That was pretty much it for the crazy things that happened in New York. But overall, it was a good experience. We did make our flight out on time, so that was good. But this is the Lake Gunnersville trip to Gunnersville, Alabama. We did camping. And it was like real outside camping in the tent, but it was on a campground, not in the wild. So that was fun until the disaster. Stay tuned. So we pack up, we go to Academy Sports and Outdoors, we go get all this tent stuff and everything we think we're gonna need for the camping trip. We buy the little lawn chairs and everything to sit in. And we pack up and we go for the trip. On the way down there, my sister have a blowout. So we like, Lord, I don't know, we're going to have to go get them or what. But they got a new tire, got everything together, and they met us there. So we get there, we set up our tents, everything going pretty smooth. And then, late that night, and we hammered it. We checked the weather and they said it was going to rain or thunderstorm a little bit, but we didn't think that all the way through, and we didn't think it was going to be that bad. So we tried it anyway, and it did not turn out well. So we sleeping in the tent, the storm started, it's raining. Okay, it's supposed to be an anti-wet, or water repellent tent. So, it's cool. But the tent can only take so much water. So basically, if you touch the tent from the inside, that spot is now wet. So you cannot touch the tent once it's soaked. And my sister and them had a little rain cover over theirs, but we didn't put ours up properly. So theirs didn't get as wet as ours. So even though they was laying in a storm, theirs their tent stayed relatively dry. Ours, on the other hand, the water began to soak the tent, the bottom of the tent, so now it's soaking the stuff in the tent. Everything is in the tent is wet. So after a while, we couldn't stand it any longer. And we sat through that storm about 2-3 hours before we even decided, okay, it's getting bad. We have to go find somewhere to stay. All our stuff is out there next to our tents on the picnic table. So all that stuff just wet. The food, the buns, s'mores, everything that we brought is wet. At this point, we just like, we got to get our stuff, get our most important stuff, go to the hotel. Well, we looked for a hotel. No hotel around had any bookings. So we had to travel like an hour and a half away to the nearest available hotel. So yeah. And then we spent the night at the hotel. I think did we go stop and find food? Mm-hmm. In the middle of the storm, we driving in the middle of the night, unfamiliar place, all the way out in the country somewhere. And then on top of that, we spend the night. The next morning, we come back to the camping site and we spend the next full night there. So we kind of missed that first night experience because of the rain. We get back, half of our stuff is missing. All my brand new lawn chairs, all 4 of them gone. Plus the little table that came with the lawn chairs. Their lawn chairs are gone. So I'm going off at this point. I'm like, oh no, because I look around, talk to some other campers. I'm like, these folks that stole my stuff. And the other little campers who frequent there often, they're like, oh really? That's what happened? And I'm like, yeah, somebody just took our stuff. They're like, oh wow, I hope they find them. This don't never happen here. And I'm like, sure, they need to come up with my stuff because I just bought these brand new stuff. So we was talking to the people who work at the little shop, where you come get your ticket and get checked in at. And they were like, oh, well, we did put some chairs back there in the shed. Why we go back there in the shed, all our stuff in there? They talking about it blew away, so they just put it up for us. But the whole time, I'm thinking something else. I'm thinking somebody that came, saw some nice new lawn chairs, and took off with them. So I was mad there for a minute. So then we went to the bathroom or whatnot. Me and my sister went in. They gonna try to leave us. So we walk out and the car gone. Because we were just supposed to be stopping using the bathroom and then go do our next activity. Baby, I didn't even react because I already knew it couldn't be. So I just calmly walked around the corner, make sure the car wasn't parked nowhere and they weren't playing no games, which they were. So that turned out okay. Because if they had left us out there, it would have been up. Let me see what else happened.
That's pretty much it.
And for that trip, that's pretty much it. We did see a lot of animals out there, fish and everything. We went swimming. It was cool. Now the lake water, we were scared to get in there. It was so dirty. But it was so many people out there swimming in it, like they did not care at all. But for me, it was the waters were just a little too murky for me. We went during a time that it's not the best time to fish, but we still caught a lot of fish. I don't like to touch the worm and the hook and stuff, but if somebody put the worm on there, I will fish. And I don't like to get the fish off either, because I don't like to touch that stuff. I don't even know if I would touch it if I had gloves. It's just nasty to me. So, that's about it for the Gunnersville trip. That was the craziest thing that happened. Do you remember anything